Hey everyone, and welcome to this 2-in-1 style video. So the video you're going to see after my reading update will be my video that I did about all of my books that I published. I don't have them on hand because I forgot them on the shelf back there, but it's going to go into a little bit brief story of what they're about and what I went through publishing them and what my inspiration, I guess you could say, for them. So I'm going to do a separate reading update as like Noah, because I have a lot of scheduling that go on my main channel, my coloring channel, that I wanted to just do this as I wanted to do this video, but also didn't have a time, like a scheduled day for it. So I figured why not just put these two videos together and have a reading update really quickly, and then that video at the end, so I can upload this tomorrow night. It'll go up Monday probably. So I have been reading, thankfully. I have been getting into the groove of good books, so I really do dedicate that, or give that credit for what's getting me reading again. So I'm currently working between two books. The one I'm reading right now, I'm going to go to bed and try to finish soon, is from the Sherlock Holmes Complete Novels and Stories Volume 1. I'm currently reading A Study in Scarlet, which is, I believe, the first Sherlock Holmes novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I can't really speak right now. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm about to go to bed, so excuse me for getting a little stammery. But I'm really enjoying it so far. The first two chapters of part 2 in this story were not very good in my opinion. It's more like a backstory chapter from what I got, but I'm really enjoying the story so far, and I've been taking this pretty much like one chapter a night. I did just read those 2 chapters before I started filming this, so I only have, I think, I have like 40 pages left to this book. It ends on page 120, and I am currently on page 80, so exactly 40 pages. I'm really enjoying it so far. This one, it's more of like an origin story of the pairing of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. It shows Watson as he just came over to, I believe they're in London or England, and it shows how they start to lodge together and then how they start to work together. And I'm really enjoying it so far. The murder mystery is really good. It's kind of more, in a way, focused on Watson telling you how he got to meet Sherlock and how he got used to his Sherlock Holmes tendencies over the story itself. The story is a big part of it, the mystery, but I feel like it's more about Watson discovering, Sherlock's quirks and how he works and stuff like that. So I'm really enjoying it so far, and I will continue on with this after I'm done. But I will take a short break to read another book, but I will continue on afterwards to the next novel in here, which is The Sign of Four. That book is, let's see, not very long. It is about 100 pages. It's about 116 pages, so I'll probably continue reading one chapter a night, because that's a pretty decent amount. In this collection, I have this kind of mass market paperback one. Each chapter rounds out to about 10 pages. I think the biggest one was 12 pages, and that's a perfect amount to read right before bed. And this is kind of like a heavier book, the way it's kind of old style writing and stuff like that. So I would definitely say that this is a perfect book to pick up before bed, because it kind of tires you out with the writing style and the old, way of speaking, because this was, I think this story took place in like the 1800s. So I think like 1807 or something like that. I'm not sure. Can't remember perfectly. But he's been writing them since 1807, so probably around the same time. But I'm really enjoying it, and this story, depending on how it ends, will probably get about 4.5 stars. So randomly the other day, I picked up this book from my shelf from the library books, and that is As Old as Time. I always try to say A Tale as Old as Time, but it's As Old as Time, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. This is a young adult retelling series of different Disney movies, and this one is, of course, Beauty and the Beast. I have some good things to say about it and some bad things to say about it. The good things to say about it are mostly the chapters that take place in the past with Belle's father and how he met his mother, who is a witch. And as you can tell by the tagline of this book, which is "What if Belle's mother cursed the beast?" And that basically is the plot. Right now, it just got to the point where Belle traded herself for her father's place at the castle to be a prisoner, and that's my main problem with this book. Is this book is published by Disney Press, which means that the author themselves can use a lot of the source material straight from the movie, and a lot of Belle's chapters seem like they're straight ripped from the movie, put into book form with this author's writing style, when the chapters that are in the perspective of her father are a lot more original and a lot more engaging. So I'm finding that I'm not enjoying the chapters with Belle so much, because it's just like it's reliving the movie, and I think that this book would have benefited from starting at the moment Belle took the place of her father as a prisoner, instead of having 68 pages so far of just switching back and forth. I think that the main premise of Belle's mother being the witch and being the one who cursed the beast is an interesting thing, but I'm not sure how I like this book so far. I find that I really love it, but then I find that I'm really bored during Belle's chapters, which shouldn't be the thing, you know. I should be loving Belle's chapter, because Belle is one of my favorite Disney princesses and one of my favorite fairy tales princesses or fairy tale characters. So I'm hoping that it'll speed up. The author will speed up, get to that point. But I'm going to give it a few more chapters before I say I'm going to DNF or not. Because I do like the Disney stories and Disney fairy tales, but I'm not particularly loving this one. So yeah, I'll give it a few more chapters and see, because now we're at the point where Belle is the prisoner, which means we'll get to the point of the story. But I definitely say this book is 480 pages long. At this point, I could see it being only 200 pages, and you could have got right to the point, but it's okay so far. So the book I'm going to pick up after I finish A Study in Scarlet, I'm not going to pick up the next Sherlock Holmes right away. I'm going to take a small little break, because I want to read this month Good Time Cowboy. This is book 3 in the Gold Valley series, and I also want to read book 2.5 in the back of the Gold Valley series, because the 4th book is out. I do own it. It is Christmas Stories. I want to read that during the Christmas season, and I have to read book 3 and book 2.5. So this book is about Lindy Parker and Wyatt Dodge. They kind of have their characters really butt heads, if I remember correctly. Lindy owns a vineyard, and Wyatt's trying to get her to team up with to get out of Dodge Dude Ranch, I think it is. And of course they're gonna end up falling in love, because they kind of butt their heads. You kind of see from like the beginning for the first 2 books where they're gonna get together, and I'm really excited to read it, because I think Macy Yates is probably my favorite all-time Harlequin writer. She mixes a lot of like good romance to the steamy elements, which they're not as strong. Like, I think some of her books go heavier on it, some of them don't, but I really am looking forward to reading this one, because I want to read this one, because not only are they good, but I want to be able to pick up the Christmas Story during the Christmas season, because I have that. And then my goal, because the next book 5 isn't out till April of next year, is to finish up all the Copper Ridge books by her, because I read book 6, but then I went back and collected them all and read book 1 and 2 now. So I'm on book 3, but I want to finish that before this series continues on, because this series here, it takes place in Gold Valley, which is about like a day's trip away from Copper Ridge. Like, a lot of characters go to Copper Ridge in the series, so it's very easy to get confused between the two if you're reading both at the same time. So after I finish the series, I'm going to read all the Copper Ridge books before April of next year, so that way that series is done, it's finished, and I can start reading these again and get into it, because book 4 is the last book of the Dodge family, and I'm going to be very sad when I read that book, because I love the Dodge family so much. I think they're my favorite family that Macy Yates has wrote so far. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. So I'm going to go to bed now. I'm going to read more Sherlock Holmes, and I will see you guys in my next video. Not the video that's going to play after this, but the next video I post for my reading updates and stuff like that. So I hope you all have an amazing day and enjoy the next video. I sign off on that video, so I'm not going to sign off here. So I'll see you guys in a few seconds. I'll look different, but just know it's because it's a different video. So see you then. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video, which is all about my books. So I figured I would sit down and talk a little bit briefly about every one of my books I have published. You can always find the link down in the description bar below if you are interested. All of my books are available on Kindle in paperback and as well on Kindle Unlimited if you have your Kindle Unlimited subscription. I do write mostly young adult horror, but I do dabble into adult horror as well, or new adult horror, I guess you could say. So let's get started with my very first book. So my very first book has actually gone through some changes. It used to look like this, which is called Holidays, and this is the cover. It was extremely dark. I didn't know what I was doing with typesetting or anything like that, so the pages were a hot mess in here. I did do a 2018 revamp, and now the cover looks like this. I love this cover a lot more, as well as the guts of the book no longer look like this. No more a jumbled mess, no more spelling errors that I just did not notice, or I was too blinded by the fact that I finished a book to realize. So I redid it in 2018, and it's now fixed and it might still have some errors because I do all of my editing, I do my formatting, I do pretty much a lot of stuff myself. The only thing that I do not do is the cover images. I get all my cover images from royalty-free websites and then edit them a little bit on Fotor.com, which is spelled, I think, Fotor. But that's the only thing that I don't do is I design the cover image myself. I do edit a little bit more. But for Holidays is a short story collection themed around the holidays. You have 7 major holidays in here with a story to go through all of them. And I am super proud of this one because it's, of course, my first book, and it has some stories that I really, really love in it. You can find the first story in here, which is titled Minivan Man, on Kindle as well, down the link below if you just want to test the short story. And then the Halloween story in here, which is called All Hallows Eve. I will be expanding this story and joining it into the teen slasher universe, which I'll talk about in a second. It's going to be expanded into a full-length novel, or it could be a sequel-sized novel, I guess you could say. But I really love this one. I recommend this one, especially around the holidays. If you want to pick it up and read, like, maybe one story, dip in and out, like one if you want to pick it up for Valentine's Day, if you want to move on to Easter. All the major holidays are in this book, and each has a unique story to it. So that was my very first book of short stories, and my very first novel is called For Darkness Knows Your Name. This is a I guess very loosely, like very extremely loosely based off of a house that I lived in. The only thing that's very similar is that the house is haunted, and the layout of the book, layout of the house in the book is the same as the house. Everything else like that is different. The past owners did not, one did not die in there. I can't really say because that's like actually like an ex-family member that I like wrote into that as that because he did die in there. But this book is about J.J. Martin and his parents who buy a house. It's kind of like a fixer-upper, and they do not know that the land that the house is on is kind of haunted, and not kind of haunted, is haunted, and is an old kind of stomping grounds for an evil demonic force called Malik. So this book, like I said, is my first novel, and it is a standalone novel. I don't really see myself writing more with this group of characters because I have learned, you know, it's not really the best to write with characters basically modeled after yourself. And while it's easier to write characters modeled after yourself, it's better to create unique characters. So I'm toying with the idea of bringing Malik back because I did actually bring the spirit of Malik back in a short story in 666, which I'll talk about in a second. So I wanted to toy with the idea of Malik now coming through, and the only character, if I do write more in this separate universe, I will write new characters, and then Simon, which is JJ's best friend, will come back and make a cameo. Other than that, I think this is going to be just a standalone novel. I love the characters, I love the story that's told, but I feel like at this point it just needs to be a standalone. I will possibly, like I said, span on in the future. If not, you know, I will not. But this one is told in 2 different time periods. You have the current time, and then in part 2, if I can find it, yes, part 2, you go back into the past and you learn about the Marston family, who is the ex-landowners of the land at the subdivision that J.J. Martin and Simon live in, and you learn more about Malik as a spirit and all that kind of stuff and what his intentions are. I had so much fun writing this book, and I will always stand behind it and have so much love for it because it is my first novel, and it really just kind of like paved the way for me writing novels. I never really felt like I could write a novel before because I always in the past have wrote short story collections or short stories themselves, and this was my first 50,000 word novel, and I am just absolutely still in love with this book and the characters because obviously JJ is modeled after me, just with a slight name change. So that is for Darkness Knows Your Name. The next book that I published was entitled 666, with this, the tagline 6 stories, 6 people, 6 unforgettable events. Basically, this is an anthology horror that takes place all of different stories on the same street. There are different houses per different story. You kind of jump back and forth, and then as well as there are 6 kind of flash fiction poetry stories in here. I will say that the flash fiction poetries are very dark and very personal at times, because I wrote this during a very dark time in my life. I kind of used this to vent, and so this book is very dark, and I would not recommend it if you are into like something that is like kind of a lighter side horror or something that is more traditional horror. This is kind of very dark horror, and the flash fiction poetry sections are very personal, with the stories and what they are called. So you have flash fiction like this, or you have a flash fiction. Well, you have a flash fiction or poetry called "Grandmother is Dead," or you have a very personal one, which I know a lot of people don't like because it is, to the point, I guess you could say, but that is called Brother / Stalker-in-Law, and yeah, so this was a dark novel for me, or dark short story collection for me, and I do love it. I will say that this is not the kind of books that I want to write. I want to write something that is dark but optimistic, or dark yet twistedly fun. I don't want to write something that is so dark and twisted that just makes people uncomfortable, or they just don't like feeling that feeling I gave them, you know what I mean? So I have kind of learned from this book, and I still stand by this book, and I still stand by the stuff that's in here, but I just don't want to write this kind of horror again in the future, and that's kind of why I have postponed my third short story collection, which was going to be called Drag, which stands for Death, Revenge, Anger, and Gore. I tried to postpone that because I still don't stand with how this stories were told, and I don't want to continue on that for that method. So I decided to postpone any short story collections for just a few years, maybe until I can figure out how to get the voice I told from Teen Slasher and for Darkness Knows Your Name into the short story world and short story format. I still love this book. I love the cover and I loved the title page of it, but I will try to in the future not write as dark as that and not let my kind of a depression state get into my writing like that did. But it was very, very therapeutic, and I wrote this in like a month and a half, and the whole, like, all the emotions I have went into this book and have never come back. It was kind of, this book was kind of like a goodbye to certain people, and was a kind of way of moving on, and I now know that my anger and my frustration are in this book, they're trapped in this book, and they're not coming back out, you know? So, and the next book that came out this year, my latest book, is Teen Slasher Camp Bloody Murder. This is the first book in the anthology series Teen Slasher, which is basically a different book each time, kind of like a Goosebumps series for young adult audiences. This one is set in a camp. It takes, the Teen Slasher series is kind of pays homage to the classic slasher movies and the classic slasher genre, and this one takes place at Camp Silverside, where a group of kids did an unspeakable act years ago, and they have got a letter and someone knows what they did. Kind of a very cliche plot, but it's kind of my spin on that. And you kind of, they see them go to the camp, and then they just kind of start getting X'd off one by one until you figure out the who, the what, and the why. I love this book. This book originally did actually have a different ending. It didn't end the way it did in this book. I love this ending. I stand by this ending so much. I love it. I love how just like I can't really say, but I love how the ending of this book is. But I'm going to be releasing an omnibus version because I have book 2 and book 3 coming out next year in 2019. I'm going to release an omnibus version, and I'll show you the alternate ending so that way people can decide which one is actually better or which one they actually like for it. But this book I absolutely loved. It was different for me to write because this book is actually in third person, where most of the stories I tell are in first person. This was in third person, and I wanted to kind of test to see if I can write in third person for a full novel, and turns out I can, and enjoy the process of it. I think I don't have to talk much about this because I think on my channel I have talked about a lot, but this is a young adult book. This is going to be a young adult series. The next book in the series is called Revenge Party, and the third one is called All Hallows Eve, which is to smack myself with the book, is my full-length version of my Halloween story in here. So that is Teen Slasher Revenge Party. I want to keep that very short. I also have on my Kindle, which I just turned off, but I forgot about, a short story called Daddy Issues, which was going to be part of the Drag short story collection, but I decided to just release that as a short story on Kindle, which is in the link in the description bar below as well. So that is all of my books. I have 4 books physically published, and I have 2 short stories published on my Kindle, which one is from Holidays and the other one is just a spare that will possibly make it into a collection in the future. I'm not sure, but you can get all of my books on Kindle right now. The Holidays book is available on Kindle for 99 cents, not this edition, the new edition, and the paperback is $9.99, or you can read it for free with your Kindle Unlimited subscription. 666 is available on Kindle paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Kindle edition is 99 cents. The paperback is very conveniently priced at $6.66, and you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited with your subscription. For Darkness Knows Your Name is 99 cents on Kindle, or you can pick up the paperback for, I think it is $9.99. I could be wrong. It might be $10.99, but I think it's $9.99. And as well, you can read this on Kindle Unlimited. And my newest book, Teen Slasher Can't Bloody Murder, is available for 99 cents on Kindle, $8.99 on paperback, and you can read for free on Kindle Unlimited with your Kindle Unlimited subscription. But until next time, I hope you all have an amazing day, night, wherever in the world. I'll see you guys in my next video, and as well, all links for the books are in the description bar below.